Dear friends, I am Nikhil Kumar. I am a professor in the University Department of English of Veer Kunwar Singh University, Ara, in the province of Bihar in India. The opening canto of Sri Aurobindo's monumental epic Savitri closes with a sentence. This was the day when Satyavan must die. It speaks of the necessity of Satyavan's death. Which goes to differentiate from spirit of the traditional story of Satyavan and Savitri. Sri Aurobindo speaks of an evolutionary necessity of the death of Satyavan. Here we are very much interested to penetrate into it because we are here confronted with a spiritual mystery which is enveloped in this very closing sentence of the opening canto of Sri Aurobindo's epic Savitri. When we enter into it and find a very higher truth, we are required to take notice of some discoveries of some yogic discoveries of Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo is a yogi whose vision transcends the yogic vision of the Vedic rishis and the writer of the Gita. He discovers a transcendent world of existence. It is the world of what he calls the supramental consciousness. The supramental consciousness is essentially the transcendent consciousness which is integral in nature. It is the divine consciousness, the divine consciousness. The world of supramental consciousness is the sovereign world of the divine consciousness. This transcendent world has certainly come into the yogic vision of the Vedic rishis and the writer of the Gita. But Sri Aurobindo transcends them for the very reason that this transcendent supramental consciousness is not the supreme divine. It is a world, it is a domain. And the supreme divine dwells on the apex of this transcendent world. As we are evolutionarily traveling in the domain of mind, we have to travel in that very transcendent world of supramental consciousness to reach the supreme divine. Sri Aurobindo has not only discovered such a truth, he has also discovered simultaneously that this transcendent supramental divine consciousness will will descend into the earth. It will be established into the earth. Not only earth, it will descend into the matter itself. It will establish its reign into the matter, and matter will undergo a transcendent supramental transformation. This is the discovery which Sri Aurobindo has made. The very physical will be transformed, the very matter will be transformed. Such a high truth could not be discovered by the Vedic rishis and the writer of the Gita on account of certain yogic limitations, because all of them were the men of this domain of mind, not of the men of that transcendent sovereign plane of divine consciousness. Sri Aurobindo has made another yogic discovery, of which he makes a very beautiful and lucid description in his epic Savitri. We are living in the world of this gross matter, and just above this world of gross matter, there exists a world within this very creation, which is the world of the subtle matter. When we ascend this world of subtle matter, there is a universal world of life. Next to it, there is a universal world of mind. After ascending the world of universal mind, Sri Aurobindo discovers a world which he calls the psychic world. This is the world where the individual souls, the divine self of man, dwells after the death of man. We have to take notice of another yogic discovery of Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo, along with other rishis, has discovered that we are made up of body, life and mind, and at the center of this there exists the divine self. The being of man is, this being of man consists of two selves. There is an external self, or there is an external being, and there is an inner being of man. External being of man consists of gross matter, of which we are aware. This external being consists of gross life, of which also we are aware. The world of biological sciences is very much associated with this world of gross life. And we have a gross mind. There is a subtle counterpart of these three: gross matter, gross life and gross mind. That is to say, there is the existence of subtle body in us, there is the existence of subtle life in us, there is the existence of subtle mind in us. This inner being, this subtle being, is at the base of our external being, our gross being. Sri Aurobindo has also discovered that the divine self in us exists in its two poises. The central poise is what he calls Jivatma, and there is a projection or representative of it, which he calls the psychic being. In the event of what we call death of man, it is actually initially the death of the external being of man. It is the death of the gross matter, it is the death of the gross life, it is the death of the gross mind. But the subtle body, the subtle life and subtle mind continue to exist. And in the event of death, the soul, using this subtle body, goes out of the being of man, of the constitution or the outer being of man, with subtle life and subtle mind. So after the death of the gross being of man, the first station where the subtle body stops in its supraphysical journey is the world of subtle matter. The subtle body stops in the world of subtle matter. It stays there for the time being in the world of subtle matter. Of subtle matter, Sri Aurobindo says, rather of the world of subtle matter, of the plane of subtle matter, Sri Aurobindo says that this world is the origin of this gross material world or this world of gross matter. It is the origin of that. In other words, we can say the gross matter has originated from the subtle matter. Sri Aurobindo writes in Savitri that this world is made up of matter, substance and soul's radiant light. It is certainly not a thing of the gross matter. This world of subtle matter is transcendent to the world of gross matter. Whatever evolutionary changes have to take place in the world of gross matter must precede, Sri Aurobindo says, must precede in the world of subtle matter. That is to say, all the evolutionary changes which take place in the world of subtle matter, first of all, take place in the world of subtle matter. In fact, the world of subtle matter undergoes certain evolutionary changes, as a result of which the evolutionary changes take place in the world of subtle matter. In the epic Savitri, the central female character Savitri is the incarnation of the Divine Mother. The incarnation or avatar, what we call or term avatar, is in fact the descent of a higher order of consciousness into the terrestrial existence. It is a precursor. The higher order of consciousness is a precursor. It has to descend into the terrestrial existence and establish its rule here. This incarnation, this avatar descends here to avert the evolutionary crisis and establish a new order of existence or a new order of consciousness. This is not at all a figment of imagination. It is a yogic discovery. In fact, it is due to the intervention or supervention, rather to say, it is due to the supervention or the descent of the transcendent divine consciousness that the creation has come into existence. This is what Sri Aurobindo has very clearly shown in the opening canto of the Savitri. If we want a scientific affirmation of or scientific logic behind the necessity of the descent of the transcendent divine for bringing the creation into existence, we have to look into certain scientific discoveries. Those scientific discoveries, of course, have their own limitations, but they allow us to enter into them, as a result of which we discover certain transcendent realities of which science is not aware. Here it is relevant to speak of the evolution of which the biological sciences speak. Biological sciences have discovered that life evolves out of matter. Then mind evolves out of life, that is to say, evolves out of matter. But Sri Aurobindo says here that it is wrong to say that matter is lifeless. He agrees with the Vedic rishis that life evolves out of matter, mind evolves out of life, only because the elements of life and mind are already involved in matter. The consciousness or the planes of consciousness which exist beyond the plane of mind also evolve out of mind. So the elements of all are already involved in matter. That is to say that a phenomenon inverse to evolution precedes this evolution. Such an inverse phenomenon Sri Aurobindo calls involution. So we see very clearly that the thing which is in the beginning of involution is at the end of evolution. In the evolution, we find the emergence of higher consciousness. After the evolution, or to say the emergence of mind. Out of mind, higher planes of consciousness emerge. Those higher planes of consciousness are the planes of consciousness where the separativity diminishes. I want to be precise here that when mind evolves out of life, we find a consciousness here. We find the mind consciousness. Mind consciousness is the divided consciousness. But as in course of evolution, some higher planes emerge. We find that those higher planes are higher planes because in course of evolution, the very separativity or the very division within the mind or mental consciousness diminishes. So it is the evolution from the separative principle to the integral principle. We have discovered the existence of what we call spiritual mind consciousness. Spiritual mind consciousness is that plane of mental consciousness where we have the realization of the existence of one divine. And as a result of the realization of the existence of one divine, the very divisiveness or separativity of consciousness begins to decay. The division within the mind begins to diminish. Sri Aurobindo has discovered 4 planes of spiritual consciousness. All those 4 planes of spiritual consciousness are in fact the gradual decay of the separativity of consciousness. When we reach at the apex of the spiritual mind consciousness, the very separativity is least. Separativity is there, division is there, but it is least. And when we ascend, we find the end of separativity, we enter into the transcendent world of consciousness, which the Rishis have found and Sri Aurobindo has found to be the integral consciousness. So this integral consciousness we find as a result of the evolution of mental consciousness into spiritual and further. That means in the involution, the integral consciousness came and it came to be separative. It continues to be separative as a result of which those planes of consciousness and existence are created downward, are seen to be the successive higher planes in the evolutionary phenomenon. So what I mean to show here, that it is on account of the descent of the transcendent divine consciousness, that what Sri Aurobindo calls involution, takes place. Vedic rishis have discovered the truth of the creation of this existence, have discovered the truth of the existence of this creation, and they say very poetically, Eko aham bahusyam prajayam. I am one, transcendent divine is one, it becomes many, and even after becoming many, its sovereign oneness continues to be the same. So it is due to the will of the one transcendent that it came to be separative, and the very phenomenon of the coming into separativity is the involution. So it is on account of the involution that evolution has taken place, the evolutionary phenomenon is taking place with the creation of matter. So what is most important here is the coming down of the transcendent supramental divine consciousness into this terrestrial existence. So the higher order of divine consciousness descends in the phenomenon of what we call incarnation or avatar. It comes as a precursor. So Savitri is there in the epic Savitri, as an incarnation of the Supreme Divine. She is the embodiment of the transcendent supramental consciousness. It is the transcendent supramental consciousness which has taken birth in her physical form here. Savitri has descended here, descended into this world to establish the supramental consciousness into the earth, into the matter, and bring about this supramental transformation. The D capital, the divine consciousness, has to be established by her. She has to bring about that divine transformation into the earth, into the matter. She has to do it. She undertakes a yoga. The yoga which Savitri undertakes in the epic Savitri is called the yoga of supramentalization. It is the supramentalization of this creation itself. Savitri supramentalizes. First of all, she brings down the supramental consciousness into the world of spiritual, universal world of mind, of which I have spoken earlier. Then she brings down the supramental consciousness into the world of life. After bringing about supramental transformation into the world of universal mind, she brings about the supramental transformation into the universal world or universal plane of life. Then she brings down the supramental consciousness into the world of, into the kingdom of the subtle matter. She brings about the supramental transformation of the world of subtle matter. And this is very important work of hers for the purpose of bringing down the supramental consciousness into the world of gross matter. As I have told you earlier, that after death, human soul sitting in his subtle body or using his subtle body goes out of his external constitution and starts its supraphysical journey and reaches the world of subtle matter and stays there. Satyavan is the representative of matter. He is yogically evolved enough to be the pedestal of the supramental consciousness. That is to say, he is yogically evolved enough to receive the supramental consciousness. I can make an analogy here, or I can bring about the image of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's hairs are capable enough of bearing the load of the Ganges, which descends here from its sovereign world, divine world. Similarly, Satyavan's being is evolved enough to bear the supramental consciousness. His subtle body is developed enough. Of course, his subtle body is not supramentalized, but it is on the stage of it is being supramentalized. That is to say, it is fit enough to be supramentalized. If a diabetic patient is to be operated, he cannot be operated unless and until his sugar level is brought to the normal level. When his sugar level comes down to the normal level, only then he is fit for a surgical operation. So, Satyavan is fit enough to undergo his subtle being, in fact, his subtle body is fit enough to undergo the supramental transformation, but it can undergo supramental transformation only when there is the death of his outer being. Only after his death he can undergo, because after death he will go to the plane of subtle matter. When Satyavan dies, his subtle body goes out of his external being. It goes into the world of subtle matter. Since his subtle body is yogically evolved enough, this supramental consciousness into the world of subtle matter percolates into his subtle body. And when it is fully percolated, his subtle body undergoes supramental transformation. Then, as a result of Savitri's yogic effort, Satyavan's soul in the subtle body goes back to his gross body. His subtle body enters into his gross body, and his gross body is also yogically evolved enough to receive the supramental consciousness into it. So soon after the entry of the subtle body of Satyavan into the gross body, the supramental consciousness descends into his gross body, and his gross body consequently goes under supramental transformation. His gross body is supramentalized. Then, as a consequence of it, the very matter undergoes supramental transformation, because Satyavan is the representative of matter. Representative because I have told you that his gross body is developed enough to receive the supramental consciousness. And human body is the evolved form of what physics terms matter. So because human body is the evolved form of matter, and in the person of Satyavan, this gross body undergoes supramental transformation, the gross body matter comes to be capable of receiving the supramental consciousness into it. So consequent upon the supramentalization of the gross body of Satyavan, the matter itself undergoes supramental transformation. Matter receives supramental consciousness percolates into it, and subsequently it undergoes supramental transformation. So it is the matter which undergoes supramental transformation. Sri Aurobindo speaks of the supramental transformation of matter, means of the entire celestial bodies which we are capable of visualizing. So it is for this very supramentalization that Satyavan's death is a must. This is the evolutionary necessity of Satyavan's death. Therefore, Sri Aurobindo says that Satyavan must die. Thank you very much.